Hi, my name is Kathy Ganatic. I'm an astrologer from the Twin Cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul, and today's a special day. I'm starting a Decan Walk. This is not your typical Decan Walk, which are great. Oftentimes what a Decan Walk is it begins at the vernal equinox around March 19th to the 21st of every year. The sun enters the sign of Aries. It's the astrological new year. And each 10 degrees of the 360-degree zodiac wheel is associated with ancient esoteric images, including the minor arcana of the tarot. The tarot is a deck of 78 cards. The minor arcana are 36 minor cards that kind of have to do a little bit more with the archetypal images of everyday life. So anyway, a lot of folks will, as a personal experience, every 10 days of the year, explore the meaning of each 10 degrees of the zodiac. This is a little different in that what I aim to do is teach astrology, teach the meaning of a chart of each decan of the zodiac through this experiential process. And I aim to do it relying on ancient texts. I studied Hellenistic and traditional astrology with Demetra George, Chani Nicholas, Austin Coppock, and others. I aim to bring that knowledge along with my intuitive understanding and some concepts from Jungian psychology. I have a background, I have a master's in clinical psych and was part of the seminar on Jungian studies for many years, and have gone through a deep Jungian analysis myself, and hope to bring archetypal themes as well into the talk, on top of just in general my years of experience with the tarot. So this is going to be a deep dive. This is the introductory video to help ground you in the meaning of the other 36 videos that are to come, where over the next year, every 10 days, I put out a new video about what it might mean to have your ascendant sign, or excuse me, your ascendant degree, meaning your rising degree in your chart, in each of the decans. One way, if you need to figure out where your ascendant is, there's a couple ways you can do that. One, I have a video that I'll link below that shows you how to pull up your astrology chart. The other is to have a reading with myself or someone else who can help orient you to your chart. I also have a 6-part introduction to astrology course that's quite deep, available on my website. I'll put a link to that below. That course comes along with 60 minutes of one-on-one tutoring, just so you can have a personal connection, which I think is important. So you can use the videos that I'm creating if you have your astrology chart and you know where your rising sign is, to get a sense for how the world sees you, the essence of who you are. That's what the rising sign is all about. But then you can also use it if you have different planets in the different decans, like the sun or the moon or Venus, etc. And you know a little bit about how the planets work. You can also just on your own use the information to imagine and understand the meaning of receptive love in your life, Venus, or beauty in the arts, Venus, if Venus is in a particular decan. Anyway, you'll get the feel if you know a little bit of astrology, or as you go along and just watch some of my videos, you'll understand. When I'm done with this kind of ambitious project, I've got my moon in Capricorn, so this is what makes me happy to work hard. Anyway, this year, I'm hoping that next year, beginning in 2026, I'll do little YouTube shorts on the meaning of each of the planets in each of the decans, and I'll take that up in a similar fashion. Every 10 days, I'll go through the 7 planets for that decan. Yeah, so hopefully those vignettes will also help deepen people's understanding. I love to teach. And I'm also someone who very much believes in the value of self-reflection. The saying over the oracle at Delphi in Greece, "Know thyself," is near and dear to my heart. A good part of my life has been spent trying to understand my own personal patterns, karmic patterns for the sake of being able to sometimes step out of the conditioned responses to the world that we all take up. I've got a deep spiritual practice. You'll see all that from my website. Again, the link to that is below if you want to know a little bit more about me. But now I'd like to set the ground and explain to you what the upcoming videos are going to be about and where the source comes from. I'm just going to pull up a PowerPoint I did for this. Just 1 second. And as with everything in life, we're in a Mercury retrograde. Sometimes things don't happen right when you want them to. Okay, here we go. I'm just gonna see if I can exit that and try this again. Thanks for your patience. We're going to play from the start. So if you're still with me, which I hope you are, like I said, the Decan Walk, when people take a Decan Walk, they usually start at the beginning of the astrological new year, around March 19th to 21st. Here's an astrology chart. And you see the sun has just entered Aries on March 20th. Yeah. And this is the first decan. It's called Aries I. These are the different 3 tarot decks images of the meaning of Aries I. In my next video, we'll unpack some of the symbolism in these, as well as some other astrological concepts to deepen our understanding of the meaning of Aries I. So this is just an image that helps. Whoops, I'm going to go back there 1 second. There, this is an image that helps you understand what I'm talking about, gives you the feel for what a Decan Walk is. This is 30 days. It takes 30 days for the, somehow I turned on closed caption. Okay. Takes 30 days for the sun to go through each sign. So a decan is every 10 degrees, the sun is going to move into a new decan or a new third of a sign. There's 3 decans in each sign. It takes about 360 days to go through the entire chart. And so we're going to walk from Aries 1 to Aries 2 to Aries 3, then beginning in April, we'll start with Taurus and so on till we end up next year at Pisces 3 around March 10th, let's say, of 2026. This is just an image of a tarot draw that I pulled when I was preparing for this first talk. I was finding myself a little bit blocked and trying to understand what was happening. And this pull reminded me of the importance of approaching this project from the standpoint of intuition, from the right brain perspective. There's so much left brain as well, obviously, in looking at all the deep astrological wisdom that I'm going to bring forth. But the right brain is where the images come in, where we allow ourselves to open up to the meanings of the images as we play with them. This is also, and I say that I got that from these cards in part because the Queen of Wands, which is a card I always use to represent myself in a tarot spread, Wands is fire energy. It has to do with inspiration. Inspiration and understanding that's bigger than ourselves. Can also have to do with the heart. And there's an importance here to opening the heart, using the heart, not just the head, to approach this exploration, right? When I pulled that card, it also reminded me I worked for many years. There's a teacher and a Jungian analyst named Janet Muff who taught some classes for the Minnesota Seminar in Jungian Studies on alchemy. So I've worked with alchemy as well. And there's a series of 50 emblems called the Atalanta Fugians. Which tells the story from Ovid's Metamorphosis. And in some ways, it's kind of similar to a tarot deck. Anyway, alchemy, like astrology, like tarot, is really a self-reflective process, and some of the images used are ways to open oneself to a deeper meaning. This image here is one of my favorites, and what it is it's a blindfolded man, or a man who cannot see. who is following at night, or he's having a difficult time seeing, following the goddess Sophia, the goddess of wisdom. He's following in her footsteps. The image reminds us that as we take up this kind of task, we need to let go of our intellect and open to the guidance from within that may emerge and blend with the wisdom teachings that we've learned to, guide us to the next step of a deeper understanding. I'll just tell you, as an astrologer, charts and meanings continually open up to me. I'll have clients who come to me right in the moment when I'm trying to understand something about my own chart. They'll have a similar placement, and doing the reading with them and working through what's happening for them helps me connect with the deeper meaning of astrology. So there is something about the esoteric path where remaining open and following instead of thinking we know or coming in with preconceived notions is really the best way to approach it. So this to me is a reminder for myself and anyone watching that as we take up this journey together, to hold what I say lightly, to consult with your own inner guidance, and not to take anything as like a dogma. This is what you need to believe. No, no, no. We need to connect. I'm getting goosebumps. So this is really the message. We need to connect with ourselves and our own wisdom and use the videos as a way of exploration and opening. There's an unlocking that can happen in the individuation or self-reflective process. And you see this through another emblem from Michael Myers' Atalanta Fugians. This is emblem 27. And what's interesting here, this also popped into my head, and I brought it up. And then I came to understand that part of what's in this image in the background, let me see if I can pull up the laser pointer. In the background, we have images of what are said to include the 7 planets. I had no idea that astrology was folded into this image, but this image has always appealed to me because there is a way when we're on the sacred path where we have moments where the door seems locked. This door has 3 locks. This man's feet are stuck in the ground. There's a stuckness that can enter upon us, and his arms are folded over his chest in a defensive position. We have to let go of some of our defenses, and again, we have to open our heart and follow and trust that the next step is going to occur, that the gate will open to us at the appropriate moment. And astrology and tarot can be part of that path. This is just a slide showing, I think, what I already said, but to orient you to what these videos are going to be. I already said that in 2026, we'll do some shorts. This year, we're going to go from Aries I to Pisces 3. But how am I going to do that? The videos are going to include astrological teachings. There's a lot of ancient wisdom with each of the signs about which planets do well there, are dignified, which may have a little bit more difficult time. And we're going to weave some of that knowledge into the astrology, as well as the images from tarot and other esoteric sources like the Picatrix, as well as the teachings of Austin Coppock. I mentioned he did an 8-part course on the Decans, which is excellent. It's available on his website for purchase. And then in addition, I'm going to bring in chart examples, probably mostly from folks who have their rising sign in each of these decans, so you can get a feel for them. And that, it's always applying real life examples to the astrology that helps us really dig in for us. As you watch my videos, feel free to drop a comment if something resonates with you, or if you want to share, if you know your ascendant or rising sign is in a decan and you resonate with it. I'd love to get feedback, because this also is how we learn astrology, is through personal experience of the energy. These are the tarot decks that I'll be using in the presentation. May weave in some other tarot decks as well, but Rachel Pollack's, this is her sacred esoteric deck that she developed herself. It's got a little bit of more of a quality of trying to connect with the transcendent self, with where we're headed, as opposed to what grounds us in this lifetime. I don't know. You have to buy her book, or I'll explore some of this with you to help you understand what I mean by that. It sounded a little lofty, but. And then we have the Rider Smith Waite Tarot deck, which has more. This is one way to differentiate. The reason I'm bringing in Rachel Pollack's deck is it calls on indigenous cultural images, as well as maybe more receptive feminine quality of an approach to life, versus the Smith Waite Tarot deck and the Thoth Tarot deck that were developed by men and have a little bit of a colonial vibe to them sometimes, which I don't love. So we want to balance out the receptive Venusian lunar energy with the solar masculine Mars dominant kind of energy as we explore these topics. Again, opening up to a multiplicity of meanings and not one dogma or perspective. And then these are some of the sources you might use to help you along the way. We have Austin Coppock's 8-hour, actually it's probably longer than that, maybe 12-hour course on the Decans that you can buy on his website. It's excellent. And then, and I'm going to use it as a resource. I took the class and have studied it multiple times. I'll use that as a resource in the class, as well as all of these different books, Austin Coppock's book, as well as this is a book by a tarot author. So not as astrological, more from a tarot perspective around the Decans. And then the Book of Thoth and Rachel Pollack's 2 books on the different tarot decks. And then the next slides are just to give you a little opening understanding of the correspondence between astrology and the tarot, which is fascinating. So in the tarot, we have different, we have wands and pentacles and swords and cups. You can see those from the images. That's a wand, that's a pentacle, a sword, and a cup. And they relate to each of the different elements in an astrology chart. So Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius are the fire signs, and they are all going to be represented by wands in the tarot deck. And Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn are that yin receptive earth energy that's represented by pentacles. And Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius are the swords, which like to cut through the thinking mind, right? That's the air signs. And then we have Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces, water signs that are emotional, having to do with the cups. Of course, they're more than just emotion, right? I have a lot of water and earth in my chart. So water signs also are the way in which we interact with the world from an experiential, embodied standpoint. Again, a little bit more the heart than the head. Then another correspondence between the astrology chart and the tarot cards is fascinating, which is the modes. We have 3 modes in astrology. We have the signs that like to start things. Those are the cardinal signs. We have the signs that are fixed and don't like to change. You know, that's the fixed signs. And then we have the mutable signs that have a little bit of flexibility and transition about them. The cardinal signs are all at the beginning of the season, right? The fixed signs are in the middle of the season, and the mutable are at the end. And so the cardinal signs correspond to Aries, or are Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. The fixed are Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. And the mutable are Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. You can learn a lot more about this if you take my Intro to Astrology course if you're a beginner. It's a great beginning class. And what's interesting in tarot is we're going to find that the cards in tarot by number correspond with the modes. So the 2s, the 3s, let me see if I can make this go forward. The 2s, the 3s, and the 4s are all the cardinal signs. And we're going to weave in the videos, not just the tarot sign that corresponds with the decan, but likely at times bring in the tarot sign, excuse me, let me go back one more, that corresponds with the opposing decan. or sign. Because one thing that's really important to understand in astrology is that differentiation is a way to deepen your understanding. So you can understand Aries by comparing it to Libra, the sign that's opposite it. So we're going to bring in some of that energy and weave it in as well as appropriate. So yeah, the cardinal signs are the 2s, 3s, and 4s. And the fixed signs are the 5s, 6s, and 7s. I'll also bring in some numerology because I have a Gemini North Node and I'm curious and like to bring in a lot of different ideas. Anyway, 5s, 6s, and 7s are the fixed. And then the mutable signs are the 8s, 9s, and 10s. Yeah, there's so much to know and understand. I'm excited to have you join me on this journey. I'm gonna stop share real quick. And feel free, I would love it if you could like and subscribe, of course, because that's part of what you do here. It'll bring more people to this journey, and I love to teach. And I love to share what I've learned through so many years of self-reflection and trying to understand myself in the world. Also, if you could comment, I think I mentioned it earlier, if you have questions or want to share a little bit about your own chart, I try to respond to all the comments. Yeah, and I look forward to taking the path with you to walking the tarot over, the Decans over the next year, and then to take an even deeper dive in the following year for each of the planets. Thanks.